This bump interview was recorded in Calgary, Alberta, located on Treaty 7 land. We would like to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3.
Oh, da-da-da-da-da. Hello, everybody. Name's Nathan Mcginnis. Sutina Dene. I'm local indigenous artist from the Treaty 7 territory. Yeah, first time here and just can't wait to paint and nice to meet some faces. Yeah, so yeah.
My name is Adrianne Williams. I'm born and raised in Calgary. Lived here all my life. First mural, so I'm really excited. I've been painting for 15 years, so I'm excited to see, do some stuff that's quite large. Thanks.
Well, my name is Nicolas Sanchez. I'm originally from Venezuela, but I just moved to Canada in December. I come from Toronto. And yeah, it's nice meeting you guys too, and it's an honor to be here.
Hello, my name is Fabien. I'm originally from France, and I lived in Montreal for like the last 15 years. And I started to paint yesterday. I'm so excited to do a mural here. First time in Calgary. Really happy to be here and to meet you guys.
Great. So to get started, I'm really excited and curious to know exactly what you have planned for your mural. So maybe we'll start with you, Nathan, then we can just go down.
Well, I guess my mural concept is Buffalo Nation, and the concept of stand and be noticed. And why I choose stand and be noticed is that back in the day in the prairies, a lot of the tribes just couldn't walk into another person's nation or territory without just, well, being disrespectful. So you had to literally go on top of a hill, stand there, be noticed, and wait till another nation warrior came out and actually came up to you and brought you to their tribe. So that was actually the right way to do things back in the day. And that was one of the main concepts I'm doing. And I'm using our family, actually my nation's eagle staff, which is transferred to me. So I'm actually the carrier of the eagle staff. And I'll be painting that as a concept as well. And another concept is Buffalo Nation. My people, the Dene Nation, was actually entwined with the great buffalo herds that you've been hearing about. And we shared a commonality with the Plains tribes, and I guess I want to display that through my artistry. Yeah. Oh, and to kind of give a ceremonial rundown on traditional colors and what they all mean to my nation, and just kind of give a bridge the culture gap with everybody else.
So my mural is going to be on the side of a West Indian restaurant, a Caribbean restaurant called Simply Irie. And I feel actually quite excited to do that because my heritage and my background is West Indian. My parents are from St. Kitts, a little island really close to Puerto Rico. So I feel like my mural is going to incorporate lots of things from the islands. I'm really excited to just kind of put my culture and my heritage and my background in my mural as well. So it's something that I want to hold very dear.
Well, my mural is going to be about, I took the concept of, I started with fable, Aesop fable. I don't know if it's the right spelled in English. With the hare and the turtle, which is like, it's a contrast between two ways of living life, right? You can hurry up and then like rely on your talents or your speed or whatever, or you can be patient and constant and build yourself up step by step. Eventually you can get to the same point, or you could even be faster or better if you work step by step. So somehow I wanted to integrate these two ways to live into one creature. It is what I do. I do fantastic creatures mythological creatures. If I find legends, then I paint the legends. But if I don't, then I create my own, or I go to like Western mythologies or these kind of tales that all of us know of, have heard about it. So it's going to be about that, the contrast between speed and slowness.
So my concept is like I'm also really influenced by mythology and all type of storytelling of ancient and like any civilization basically. And so on this one, it's on the office of the Stampede, and I thought that the bull would be like an animal that will be quite interesting to represent. And I wanted to show the strength and fertility through this animal, and in the same time I cut it in two pieces, and there is kind of like a woman inside of the bull, which represents two strength and fertility, and she's kind of like performing like a ritual, and she's wearing like a mask of like a bird. So I wanted to show like the kind of like spiritual and more like feminine side that is inside of everything, and the more like masculine side through the bull, and the more like boldness somehow. So that's the main concept.
I'd love to know how your other artistic practices might be incorporated in your mural work. And Fabienne, I might pick on you here because now you're also a tattoo artist. So I'm really curious to know how those two pieces kind of intersect for you.
So it's quite recent. Like I started to tattoo a little bit more than a year ago. Like a couple of years ago, I started to draw only using like black ink. And straight on paper. I stopped to use any type of lapis pencil, and since then my style developed on a really more free style, and I cannot like erase, so I just go like that. And slowly I started to get more and more tattoos, and get really interested by this type of art, and get really influenced by tattoo artists too, and that kind of like my style evolved through these influences and through the necessity to tattoo myself, and that's how now I tattoo also.
Adrianne, I might jump to you here because I know that this is your first mural project, but you have extensive background in drawing. So how are you kind of approaching fusing your drawing practice with this mural project?
I think that, so right now I'm kind of steady working on some t-shirts, and it's really about portraiture, faces. I'd like to hone my craft in different mediums, so mostly acrylic on canvas, but lately I've been getting into pencil crayon on paper, so I'm just trying to master that. So I think that my mural is gonna have those elements, like the same elements as almost my t-shirts, just kind of people that I hold dear, and just trying to find a way to kind of hone my craft, especially when it comes to faces and people. So I think you'll see a lot of that.
Nathan, do you want to jump in?
Well, I've actually been doing art for pretty much my whole life, and even recently I've been doing animation, and just because of that, it actually opened the door through Photoshop and graphic work, and it helped me exercise my creative aspect by just pushing my contour lines, my basic contour lines, into rendering onto walls and whatnot. And I've been doing a lot of realistic painting, abstract paintings, and large ones, personal murals, and I find that it's been kind of building me towards a larger project as what I'm doing today. So what I did was actually render my design, took a picture of it, used Photoshop, and superimposed it on the area that I was gonna, just kind of almost like a blueprint. And that's pretty much my go as like, am I gonna use spray paint, or am I just gonna use the brush, or it's kind of like creating as I go. Yeah.
And yeah, maybe you want to jump into if any of your other artistic practices kind of come into your mural work, or how those two pieces kind of fit together. Because I know you have a background in draft making. That's how you kind of came, where your educational background is, right?
Yeah. It's like drawing on paper, basically, and some graphic, but not graphic design, and not digital graphic design, but the classic graphic techniques like linocut and xylography. So yeah, I think it's very my mural style is like it's my attempt to take this rendering used in graphic techniques to a huge scale, because I like the fact of how the lines just affecting the thickness of a line, you can create a whole grayscale. So it intersections with graphic, definitely. Story techniques.
The interesting thing about mural art, of course, is that it's an environment, it's in a community, it's out on a physical building and space. So I'm really wondering how, in what ways you consider the work and its surroundings when you're developing your work, or is it the case where you just develop the work and it kind of stands on its own? What's the kind of interplay between the surroundings of the actual building and the work that you're creating? AlfAlfA, maybe we'll stick with you there.
Well, that's an interesting question. It's very variable. I think depends of the project, or each mural is pretty different approach. I have had the chance to spend some time before painting in some places, which allows me to like take a lot of elements from the imagery, symbolic imagery, or local animals, or local characters, or historical facts, or whatever that is very like in the memory of each person of this community or country or whatever. But other times I just don't have the time to investigate on it, so I just fall into the place and I have to paint. So what I try to go is for, basically the same, but in a shorter investigation term, something like that. So that's the way I link with my environment.
Adrianne, maybe we'll jump to you.
I think for me on this specific project, just because it's the first one I've worked on with someone else on such a large scale, because I think the link between the artist and the actual business owner and the actual business, I don't know if it was intentional, but I think it fits very well just because of the style of my work. Has a lot to do with my heritage, and then the actual restaurant being of a West Indian restaurant. I think that it just kind of works well. So I feel like when I did my original sketch and sent it in, there was some things that needed to be tweaked. But when I talked to the business owner, I really I wanted to keep the heart and soul of what I wanted, but I also wanted the person that has to see it every day and do business there to feel comfortable with what they were getting as well. Because as Julia said the other day to me, I can paint and walk away, but they're the people that are gonna have to be dealing with that. So I think, I wanna take that into consideration, and I think we've decided on something that we both really love and we're really gonna be proud of, so, yeah.
Nice. Nathan, how do you approach that interplay between the space and the work that you're creating?
Well, Dene, that's the business owner's first name, Dene. And in my language, Dene means people, the people. So that was like almost like a super small universe coming into play. And from being here, actually being Sutina, being originally from this territory here, just kind of like standing being noticed, kind of sending a reminder out, just based upon the name Dene, and using just traditional symbolism just to kind of entwine that reminder out there. Yeah.
For me, like every time it's different, but the main thing is like you need to be in front of the wall physically most of the time to really get an idea of the colors of like. But when you have to do it from distance, you have to make sure. But I try to, as much as possible, to like, I don't know, it's kind of unconscious, but the color of the wall, the different colors in the background, like what's my idea of the place where I'm gonna be painting, or I don't know, it's like I have to find something, and it's like looking for something and it appears naturally, and you find what's right for this place at this moment from my own perspective.
Adrianne, you brought a really interesting point when you're kind of considering not only, again, the intersection of the space and the art, but then also the people and the business owners and the folks that might be, you know, walking down the street afterwards. So, yeah, to that extent, do you feel a sense of responsibility then to, yeah, kind of consider that impact on the public when you're approaching your art? Or, again, is it kind of art first and then kind of let that land where it will?
I'm always a firm believer of just doing what I feel internally. Like if it feels right internally, then that's my first instinct, and that's what I usually go with. But yeah, I think when it comes to public art, considering the audience and that it's out there for everyone to see, I just try to be cognizant of that and just try to be aware. And I want to make work that engages and that I'm proud of. So yeah, I really try to be cognizant of others. I don't think it's always important, but I think for me on this specific project, it's important.
Fabienne, how about you?
What was your question? Like
Yeah,
a
so
sense of
just considering,
responsibility?
so again, a mural work is not only the interplay of the physical space, but then also the people, be it the business owners or the folks that are going to be walking down the street. So kind of considering, yeah, what the impact there might be, or is it, you know, art first and let it land where it will?
I'm trying to not think too much of the business owner when I paint walls, but it's something really paradoxal about painting walls. It's like the people that are on the other side of the wall don't see it much, but the people outside, like everybody, will see it. And I don't know how to explain it in words, but yeah, like a little bit like you said, like there is something that feels right to do, and this is like this instinct of like what I feel like I want to express. And sometimes it's, I don't know, I don't even feel that I really choose. It's like it's something that happens, and that's like while I draw, while I have this intention, there's something that pops up, and there is like significance, there is like a lot of meanings and a lot of influences and everything that pops. And I think it's what feels right to do for the people to see it. And if I feel like people should not see that, like if it's too dark or I don't know, like maybe I will I will change it.
Nathan, how about you?
Well, bridging that culture gap was always something I always been doing throughout the years through different mediums and different projects in the past. So I find that art, if you're going to do public art, yeah, there is a tightrope you have to walk, and you are putting yourself out there. You are putting your work out there, your ideas, your perspectives. At the same time, you gotta make sure if that perspective can be read and be followed, in other words. And me, I'm speaking from a traditional perspective. I always had public art, so I'm talking about teepees. So paintings were just, when you see a teepee, there's always different meanings to the triangles that you see, to the circles that you see. They all had different meanings. So public art, even color for Sutina had different meanings. So red, a lot of people will kind of think passion when they see something red, or they kind of have that. But to me, it represents Mother Earth. That's the earth color that represents earth. And then green, some people kind of look at it as envy, but as a Sutina and as a Treaty 7 artist, and when you see public art, green represents all the plant life, like grass, everything that grows, fruits, vegetables, potatoes, all plant life. Like even blue, if someone uses blue, that kind of represents that a little bit free spirit, that acknowledgement. But to Sutina, that represents all water. represents the sky, represents that we're all connected to the water. So when I'm thinking of public art, I'm thinking about how can I bridge that cultural gap and what am I going to do to influence and help the city of Calgary understand that Sbuone is still here. We still have our tradition. We still have a lot to share and a lot to teach through our philosophy and through our protocols. And yeah.
AlfAlfA, what about you? Again, how does the interplay between your art and the public, and if you do consider, the viewing public and how you're approaching your work?
Well, at the beginning, I was not very conscious about this. Then, when I started painting more and more, and eventually bigger, then I started to realize that one of the things that more attract me from public art is the fact that this is a dialogue between an artwork and the actual scale of a city. The buildings are huge, so you gotta do something really big to talk to these structures. And aside of that, then you enter into the everyday life of a lot of people. So you have some certain responsibility. Yeah, at least it's gotta be positive. That's all I can say, because you can go to further meanings. You can talk about beauty or ideas. This is very personal, but at least it gotta be something constructive, positive, something that gives any kind of message in an instant. It gotta be received instantly. So basically, this is the way I approach to the.
Kind of similar on that line in relation to the public, in a lot of traditional visual arts, images are hidden behind a gallery, or you have to go kind of seek them out in these institutions. But again, with murals, they're out for everyone to see. It's free access. And so I'm wondering if that kind of public access to your work makes you feel vulnerable at all, and if it does, how you might navigate that vulnerability. Nathan, maybe we'll start with you on that one.
Actually, this is a blessing and an opportunity just to have this mural, just to do something on this scale. So for me, to share what I'm going to be putting out there, it's not no issue for me. It's a blessing.
Adrianne?
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. I think I'm past vulnerability when it comes to my art. I'm just willing to put my stuff out there and, come what may. So yeah, I feel the exact same way. Extremely blessed to be able to showcase my work on a larger scale. I think it's fantastic.
How was it?
Yeah, again, if, considering that in other kind of visual arts mediums, it's behind a gallery, people have to kind of seek it out. But with murals, it's completely open to the public. And I'm wondering if there's any sort of vulnerability in that to be so kind of publicly on display.
I wouldn't say vulnerability at all. I like it. I always like to be seen. I thought to be an actor when I was as a kid. I always had this thing about being shown, so it's the perfect thing. Is a lot of people see it. It's exactly what it makes me like it that much, and yeah, basically, yeah.
Nice. Anything to add?
Yeah. I also really love to paint outside because everybody can see it basically, because there is no gap, nothing that stops the people to enjoy, and so anybody that pass by can look at it and make his own idea, feel whatever he feels to looking at it, and feel blessed to have the chance to paint something that big and here in Calgary.
Murals have been kind of one tool or one medium when we're considering the gentrification of neighborhoods. So I'm wondering how, in your opinion, can artists kind of improve the way that cities realize urban renewal, or how art can bring that renewal in different urban spaces? Maybe AlfAlfA, I'll start with you on that one.
Well, it's a delicate issue, right? Because the point of view from artists are always a bit, could say, naive, or maybe, particularly me, and I feel that the artists in general, we are not thinking in like eventual all the repercussions, you know, and I mean, since the last 10 years, 20 years, when street art has been like hitting strongly worldwide, we've heard these kind of things, that there's been like gentrification of neighborhoods, of entire neighborhoods of city areas through street art, which is, I mean, it's a natural process of stuff, right? Everything starts with a very fresh beginning, and then eventually it becomes massive, people start to like it, and then it becomes a business itself. So at the end, it ended up being something very different, or eventually even opposite from what it started being. But yeah, I wanted to say that I try to be careful of not contribute to this reality, but I can't say that because I cannot even see what projects are aiming to do that or not. So it's a complex issue.
Yeah. Nathan, how do you kind of navigate that tension between, again, murals in the context of gentrification, or in what context art can kind of help to revitalize urban spaces?
Yeah, like, really trying to think about my question or my answer before I answer it. But I find that if you can really bring that taza, that Sutina has a word taza. That's a form and expression, like that wow factor. Like you go into a nice, beautiful place that just brings that wow factor to you, that brings that heartwarming feeling. Doesn't matter like what it is. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. It matters what it is, what you put out there. And if you're going to have a tag, something that's very derogative or something, that doesn't mean nothing. Of course, yeah, you're going to have you're putting out there, you're putting out something there and you're bringing something back, in other words. So if you want to put something beautiful out there, you're going to get that back in return. And as an artist, yeah, I understand that it's up to you to kind of bring that balance back. And like I said, I'm really trying to think about my question prior, because this is like the long term, the outcome of what this project is doing. I can't really foresee what's going to happen, but I really hope that what we're doing, what we're contributing, actually does help, I guess, for the greater goal. Yeah.
Fabienne?
It's quite a difficult question to answer. I don't know enough, and I don't know if I'm gonna even know one day about like all gentrification process and everything. And it seems it has a lot of really bad impact on a lot of people. And definitely, as an artist, we're not that aware of what's happening after we paint and on those repercussions. And it's trying to make the place nice. We're trying to make something with like a good intention, so people enjoy it. But we're not in real estate trying to make the value go high, and that's like other people that try to profit, I think, from the fact that neighborhoods get better and they can buy. I don't know. It's quite bad for a lot of people, I think.
Adrianne?
That's a really hard question, but I feel like if you go anywhere else in the world, you'll find mural and street art. And one thing I loved about Bump is that when it started going up, it really caught my attention because I've lived in Calgary my whole life and I've never seen anything quite like it. I've seen it when I've been traveling in other places of the world, but I've never seen that here. So I think the intention behind what's going on at Bump is something that we can look to as the positive. Something to give back. I think when there's art involved, people feel more invested and they feel, something and the thing with public art and social media nowadays is that you can connect with so many people on so many levels through murals and arts, because you can see murals that you probably would have never seen before. And yeah, I think that in touching on the gentrification aspect of it, I feel like maybe for this specific project, it's something different, and that it can be seen as something different, just because of the interaction with locals, businesses, and just forming relationships that you probably would never see happen. So I think that's the positive that we can get out of this specific project.
Nice. Yeah. As we start to kind of wind down, you know, you're so right in that Bump has now had multiple iterations, and now it's kind of firmly established in the Beltline. And it's been great that the reception has been so positive, but definitely we've seen, particularly in Calgary, that other kind of public art projects can hold a bit more debate around it, let's just say. And so, you know, in the context of championing public art, what do you think individual members of the public could do that can further improve and champion public art in our cities and further its impact? Maybe Adrianne, we'll pick on you again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the negative response to public art when it comes to the city is maybe just a lack of understanding, right? I think it's a lack of understanding of where the funds are going. Obviously, I mean, people are going to think that, you know, funds should be going to something else other than art, because, but I think that programs like this kind of foster and ensure that art and its importance and its impact is just as important as other programs, other things that are needed for the city. So I think maybe just with the transparency of things, people will be able to wrap their brains around it more. Whereas I feel like with other things, you know, sculptures and stuff that are going up, if you are not of that world or that mindset, it's kind of hard for people to wrap their brain around, you know, the circle heading out of Deerfoot or whatever. Like, people get really upset about that. But yeah, maybe just more transparency and kind of letting people know what's going on, making them aware, and just showing that, yeah, the arts are really, really vital to communities. So I think maybe just a little bit more transparency and yeah, and having, you know, things in place where people can interact with the public. I think that's important too, because when you feel like you're a part of something, you're more invested. So, yeah.
Nathan, maybe we'll throw the question over to you. Yeah, again, just considering just public art at large, like Bump has been really lucky, and the murals have had such positive responses, but sometimes the public discourse around public art can be a bit more challenging. So what do you think people can do to help champion public art and hopefully further it even more in the city?
Well, I come from Sbuone, and disadvantages has always been at my doorstep. So when I think public art, I think about, yeah, like transparency is key, and having proper, I guess, opportunities for everybody. I mean, you can have, like the COP, for example. For my people, we have a way to bury our dead, and it's called the sky burial, where you have the body on a staff or on stilts. And in the art piece over at COP, it kind of had a huge backlash with all the Treaty 7 nations, and it reminded everybody of the sky burial. And that piece should have been consulted, and should have been actually consulted with the locals, just based upon the reality and the sensitivity of that. So the opportunity for just everybody to actually have that, not just the opportunity, but to be fair on the budget-wise. And like I'm saying, I'm speaking from a Treaty 7 point of view, where the budget has to be equal, and I'm just being blunt. The ring, like seriously, like, oh my God. could at least made into a dream catcher or something. Like at least jazz it up with some culture or something. Had some flower, hang something from it, ribbons. Give it some jazz. But seriously, like, consultation, open transparency is key. And if you're going to be throwing huge dollars at people that are going to be doing that, I mean, seriously, you got to really step up and where's your cost flow statement and be open with that and stuff like that, yeah.
I appreciate that perspective. Fabienne, I know you're based in Montreal, so maybe I'd be curious to hear, how public art is received in Montreal, and what lessons we in Calgary might be able to take from that.
So far, from what I've seen you're doing in Calgary, it's like you're doing a good job. In Montreal there is a lot of murals. It's like it's more dense city, so it looks like more murals, but maybe you're kind of even. But it's like people receive it well. Like usually there is like murals are well received because there is many of small projects. It's not like there is a few huge murals, but it's not like public art that is like costing so much and that people don't really know what this is about. But I don't know where I'm going with it. But I don't. I'm sorry.
That's all good. And then I know you're based in Toronto, but you've had such an international career and had an opportunity to create and see art all over the world. And so maybe I'll ask you, in your mind, what's a kind of a standout city in their approach to public art, be it murals or sculpture work, whatever. What's kind of a city that stands out in terms of their public art and why?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think I don't really know. I would have to go for the standard. Berlin is one of the most intervented cities all over. But it's just the amount of pain that is on it and the amount of people that moved there in the last 20, 30 years, or maybe more. So it's an interesting center. But I think it's so on hip that it's passing already. So something new is coming. I think Athens is an interesting place where things are happening. Romania too. Many cities in Romania, starting from the capital city, Bucharest, but it's a lot of smaller festivals in. So I think it's over Europe, but I don't know exactly where. And I think the axe is moving somewhere else.
That's a good perspective. Thank you. Great. Yeah. So, looking at the time, we hit 45 minutes, which is great. I really appreciate everyone's insights. This has been a really good conversation. I'll just give you an opportunity if you have any kind of final thoughts or words about the project, and we can go our separate ways. So, Fabienne, why don't we start with you, and we'll go this way.
I don't know what to say. Yes, thanks for inviting me. I'm really happy to be part of this BUM festival this year, and it's a real pleasure. Thanks.
I have nothing to say, but thanks as well. It's a great project. I think it's very interestingly managed. As I told you, you never know what's behind, right? But for what I can see, I like the way you're doing it, and I like what you're building also in Calgary. It's looking great. It's already looking like an open-air museum, which I think is what you aim with this project. And nothing. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, the same for me. I just feel really blessed and humbled and really excited to get started. And I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. I love to see it. It gives me hope for Calgary. Thanks.
I'll say "sias gas." That's thank you in my language, and I'm just can't wait to finish my project. I just the monkeys in my heads are actually jumping around. They want to get going. They want to see it done. And when everything's done, I actually wouldn't mind just taking a tour with my wife to check out all the different murals across the city. And yeah, but yeah, thank you, and
Great.
really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks so much, everyone.